welcome to the Josh Walensky Show. And today I have the great pleasure of having a professional concert pianist from Russia and now from Israel.
That's right.
And now she's here in the United States, and as you see, she's giving a concert Friday, March 18th. Tell us about it,
yes.
Dina.
I'm giving this concert at the Turtle Bay Music School. I'm on the faculty there. It's a wonderful school. It has lots of community programs for people. And this concert is also special. It's free and it's open to all. And we call this program Piano Cantabile because it's not only piano music, it's also vocal music. So we will be performing piano solo, and also we'll have guest singers who will come and sing the songs written by the same composer. And also a couple of pieces by myself that I wrote, musical theater pieces and piano music. So it should be fun. Everybody is invited, but the space is limited. So you'd better make a reservation before it fills up. And you need to call on the phone number 212-753-8811. 212-753-8811 at 244 East 52nd Street, and hope to see you there.
Dina, you come from this magical country of my parents and my grandparents. I want to know about your training. Where were you trained? You were born in Russia?
That's right.
And tell us about your training. Where did you go to school?
Well, I guess the training started even before I went to school, because my mom is also a piano teacher, as it's very often and very common in Russia, because the education is so easily accessible, and most of kids could just learn to play an instrument. It was a very common thing. And I started with just playing by ear little pieces that my mom's students who would come home would play. And then at the age of 6, I said, Mom, I think this is the time for me to go to music school. So I really wanted to do this and to write my music. And of course, the classical, especially classical music education in Russia is very, very strong.
Yes, Russia has just such a rich tradition. The piano is your primary instrument.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, well, I know that because I have so many recordings by Sviatoslav Richter and Emil Gillis, and you know, Rubinstein and Horowitz were also Russian.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
a golden
on.
age. Yeah.
And Van Cliburn won that that wonderful prize in Moscow, playing Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto No. 1. And I don't know if you guys know it out there, my listeners, but for 25 years, I was the musical director and manager of the City College University store. And we had 100,000 phonograph records at the time, and we actually developed a marketing principle known as rack jobbing. What is rack jobbing? Well, rack jobbing is that the central buyer selects the music for anyone who wants to carry records or CDs, and they sell it as a rack to the retailer, and we make the selections. So for about 10 of those 20 years, I was a sales manager of a rack jobbing company that supplied gimbals, which went down the tube, and Macy's. That particular company still does some drugstores and so on. So I picked up the tremendous knowledge of music, and Columbia Records awarded me a prize they had a contest where they played, where they published some reviews of certain new recordings, about 100 reviews, and I was able to tell them what piece of music and what musician they were talking about, and I won the grand prize at Columbia Records. This was quite a while. This might have been when you were born. Who knows?
Maybe.
But anyway, so I really picked up a tremendous working knowledge of music, and I love Pianist. Now, what's going to be on your program, and what do you play? What's your who do you play?
For this particular concert, it's going to be pieces by Rachmaninoff, also by Ravel, played by a guest pianist that I also invited, and a longtime friend of mine, Luba Polyak. Some cabaret songs by Bolcom, William Bolcom, and Turina, the Spanish composer Turina. There are going to be songs in a few different languages. The piece by Chopin that we just put at the background, Variations Brillante, and and songs by Chopin in Polish, by Turina in Spanish, the wonderful and funny cabaret songs by Bolcom, and some pieces by myself. So we have 3 wonderful guests I will be playing, but aside from me, there will be 2 vocalist guests and another pianist. With that other pianist, we are preparing a 2-piano piece. We will be playing a piano duet, so it's going to be interesting. But I wanted to ask you, Joshua, because you are so knowledgeable about music. Have you had any musical training? Have you played an instrument?
Not enough, not enough. I haven't had enough musical training and so on, but I love music. I love pianists. I even love jazz pianists. You know, to be a good pianist, you have to first understand what the composer is trying to convey, and the emotion, and the feeling, and the passion. And if you have the technique, like Dina does, it's a very precious commodity, very just, I don't even want to use the word commodity. That's for, I don't know who's that, that's for Bernie Madoff or something. I'd say it's just such a precious gift to be able to inspire people, and I'm very proud. I live a few blocks away from the house that Rachmaninoff lived at the end of his life, 84th Street and West End Avenue, right a block from the Pope Cafe. You've been there? Yeah, you've seen it. I
passed by, yes.
Yeah, and you've seen that, and I'm very impressed, and I love, I especially like the theme on Paganini. That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful, his Rachmaninoff, and he had so much feeling. He wrote one opera too, Aleko, I think.
Aleko, that's right.
Yeah, he wrote, and I have a recording of that. And he was just such a warm, passionate performer, and you know,
and composer.
When you hear that theme on Paganini, I go, I just, it's almost as exciting as listening to Paula Gloria give a lecture on hemp oil.
You know, one of your favorite pianists that you mentioned, Richter, he said that as a performer, he wants just to be a mirror of what the composer wrote and what composer wanted to say. And that takes lots of talent and technique and energy of your soul to do that, to try to really understand what the composer tried to say and to translate it to the audience. Lots of hard work, so I like this approach of his.
And you don't miss a beat. You do pops too, right?
I love, you know, my other love is musical theater. This is what I mostly write as a composer. I collaborate with lyricists and librettists, and we write musicals. And I just love it. You know, the combination of music and theater together, I think this is the most powerful combination. So it's really important to me. It's an important field, and this is one of the most magical things, I think. When I was a little girl, and I saw, even as a movie first, Fiddler on the Roof, there was something so powerful about all these elements come together that it persuaded me to write those things.
You know, since this is a program on community, people, and the human situation too, I want to ask you, okay, you were born in Russia, but you are totally familiar with the Russian culture, but you're also Israeli.
That's true.
Israeli.
I'm an Israeli citizen.
So how does that combination fit into each other? And then as an intellectual, how do you deal with sort of the problems between, for instance, the old Soviet regime and the Jews and so on? How do you deal with it? And how do you maneuver yourself around it? And how do you talk about it? And what are your feelings about it?
Well, I only can say that I'm so happy to know that the Soviet regime is over, but the problems that Jews still encounter in Russia still exist, unfortunately. So it comes together as an Israeli citizen, also the state of Israel, and being actually an Israeli is very important to me, because it's not taking for granted that my people have their own land, because the land just was established, as you know, just in 1948, and since the very beginning of its establishment, it's been arguable by other people whether it should exist or not. So this is a very personal and very painful but very important subject. So as someone, if you ask how it comes together, being born in Russia and coming to Israel, it's interesting because the home is still Israel, even though I came there as a teenager and I was not born there. But it's very important to refer to this as home. So when you talk about home, is Israel. Azerbaijan, where I was born, I'm Azerbaijan, part of Soviet Union, was a wonderful place to be born, and also I spent my childhood there, so, you know, we all love our childhood, and it was nice. But it still remains to me as a place of birth, and not too much more than that. So if you ask about how it comes together and the identity, I know I sound Russian because my first tongue is Russian, but I still would consider myself an Israeli. So.
Yes, my generation, of course, was always told, because we were World War II babies, we were always told about the fact that the Soviet Union offered Israel land in Azerbaijan originally, you know, to form the state of Israel. But the powers that, you know, the leadership didn't go for it.
Something. Yeah, there were different suggestions where Israel would be safer or something, but it didn't work, and it would have never worked, because you cannot take people far from their roots. Israel had to become where it came from, where you walk and you see the wall in Jerusalem, the Western Wall. You see your history, and you see the architecture. You see some of the sites of Israel are still the same as they were in Bible. You walk upon the same towns that were named the same way, and the same places, and so you get the connection. You cannot just make a country out of nowhere, because you cannot be apart from your spiritual roots and from your history. So.
Yeah, before we hear a little more on music, I always try to bring people together, and I always, even when I disagree with people, I try to search for the reason why they may feel the way they feel, and what may be the seed or the essence of what creates their emotions and feeling. So for instance, when I go into Washington Heights, you can't help but notice, except in the areas where Russian is spoken, you can't help but notice that Spanish is the dominant language. And yet they are in an English-speaking country and an English-speaking, primarily an English-speaking city. So you can see what happened to my parents and grandparents who were really quite fluent and literate in Russian. And very often they were Jewish, I'm Jewish. I remember a very prominent Russian gentleman saying to my mother, "I do not believe you are Jewish because you know the language and the culture so well." And so on, I just don't believe. Vera Walensky, I do not believe you're Russian, and so on. So this, what happens with the Jewish people very often when they are in a small community speaking primarily Hebrew and perhaps Yiddish, you can see how people who are not that well educated do form certain feelings that sometimes even engender elements of anti-Semitism. And I'm not justifying it, I'm just saying that you have to sometimes try to find out what, when you see a disease, you try to find out what's the root of it. And it doesn't sometimes help our people when we just become a bit isolated and secluded from the rest of the community.
Absolutely.
So you can see how
no ghetto is good.
Yeah.
For no, for no nation. But I think it's very important to be open to cultures and to blend in and to understand. Yes, of course. But there's, a nature of people like this. There's Arthur Avenue in the Bronx where people speak only Italian, even people who were born at this Arthur Avenue, they would still speak only Italian. They would never even go out to speak English. There's Brighton Beach that I know because of Russians. There's even a joke about how they say, well, we don't know what's going on in the U.S. We don't go to the U.S. because they don't consider the Brighton Beach to be the U.S. and they live their own life, which when you come from outside seems to be a little odd because it's like some sort of state of mind. There's a state within a state which is isolated from the rest of it. But, I think it's part of many phenomena that happen in the U.S. and it's interesting by itself. For me, it's like to go, in a way, to a museum because you wouldn't see this kind of people anywhere else.
Yeah, I want Shanti and Paula, would you please play some of Dina's music in the background? We want to hear those
okay.
That wonderful concert.
We could talk about the songs. There's another CD there, which is a song.
Oh, you have another one.
Oh, yeah, which is different.
Yeah,
it's about
whichever
a project
one
that we do.
Yeah, it's really.
That
So you live here with your family too?
No, my family is in Tel Aviv.
Your family is in Tel Aviv.
Yes.
Yeah.
My brother used to be here. He came here for his chemistry studies at Columbia University. And he came back, and I am enjoying myself here very much in New York because I think it's very important for an artist to be here, and especially if you want to write musicals, and you write musicals, Broadway and around is a place to be and to live.
Well, you're a very adventurous and a very well-informed young lady, and you were telling me before the show how you went into Columbia Presbyterian and you got some acupuncture.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. And it's pretty hard to find acupuncture and Columbia Presbyterian. I walked into it by accident. Oh, they've got beautiful music. Yeah.
Oh, that is something else. This is a song that I wrote. It's a part of a musical. And it's about a woman who was adopted, and she's a very successful black woman in her 30s. And she decides to trace her birth mother. So in this song, she sings about, the name of the song is Adopted. She sings about how she learned about this. This is a very, a little different realm of what we are doing. Lyrics by Matt Schatz and sang by Latoya Lewis, with me playing on the piano.
Well, I'll tell you, I have good news for the audience. Dina's going to become a producer here at M&M. She got her package, and she's going to get the orientation. And the last time she walked in here, she got into conversation with one producer on semantics, right? And the origin of words and language. And she got into a conversation with another producer who also has quite an elaborate agenda. I think she's going to really make herself at home here and not only introduce people to good music, but good ideas too.
Absolutely, to make a difference.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josh.
How does a musician go about making a living here in this very complex city that's so competitive? How do you go around making a living?
Well, I think I've been lucky, probably, for most cases. I did not have a trouble. I cannot say that I'm a struggling artist. I do music for a living, and you cannot make fortune out of music, and you shouldn't think that way if you're a musician, because it's a labor of love. You do it, first of all, because you love it. But when it comes to make a living, there are different situations, and for now, the city has been good to me. I cannot complain about this, and I consider it luck and also the relation with New York, you know. So you have to be diverse, though. If you want to make a living as a musician, you cannot be stubborn and say, I'm going to write only this kind of music and only play this and such, because this is what I want to do eventually. No, you have to understand also what the audience wants, and you have to develop yourself into broader fields. And if you do that, then you have much more chances to succeed as a musician, and it's very good for you, because you grow up as a musician also. You don't just stay within your frame. So you have to respond to what you see and hear and to the influences, and to be versatile. And I think in New York City, that's the key for a musician, being versatile.
Are you a friend of Julia's too?
The dancer?
Yeah.
Yes, I met her at the International Limud Festival first, when she was dancing and I was playing at the opening. And we had a nice conversation. We were also neighbors. She lives just one block from me, and we run into each other in Whole Foods. And she's wonderful, and she's very musical too, as a dancer.
Yeah, Julia is a dancer, we know, and she sometimes earns a living as an Oriental Turkish-style dancer, and Dina and I saw her performing at the Cafe Turquoise and so on. But also, Julia is a professor, is a teacher of movement, and creates strength in our bodies. And by the way, men are also more than welcome. If you want to move the most important thing that belongs to you, your body, you have to go and see Julia. She'll give you a good workout, and she'll get you, those guys who are a few weeks or a few months pregnant, she'll make you flat as a board. I have to see her soon.
She's incorporating dance also into her movement. This is why I like it so much, because it's not just workout, it's dance and workout. And so it's much more fun and artistic, and it works, you know. It definitely works. So, and she dances pretty regularly at that place.
Ah.
So whoever wants to see her in action can find her there.
Yeah.
Fridays and Saturdays, yeah.
Yeah, and when she was on this show, she was mentioning you can even dance with your eyes, your hands, your fingers, and certainly
That's
as
right.
a pianist, you know that you can dance and move with your fingers. I always have great pleasure watching the pianists, all the pianists. The jazz pianists are very highly accomplished too, and many of them have been trained as concert pianists.
Absolutely.
There are no miracles when it comes to perfection. It's a lot of hard work. How many hours a day do you practice?
Oh, you know, it doesn't matter how much you practice. There's always something that you, there's always more to do. So it's hard to say in average how much you practice, and it's also different from how much you're supposed to practice. But let's say 4 or 5 hours a day would be a norm for a performing pianist. And if you, it's also not by a clock, you know. Sometimes you will have a good practice and you will think that you accomplished something for today in 2 hours. Sometimes you're just seeking for something and for an idea or for how to express this idea, and it doesn't work day or two, and then you can, you know, play around for hours.
Yeah.
So,
Dina, this has been the Josh Walensky Show, and as usual, for the community, I want Dina to have the last words with an outstanding invitation to come to her concert. We have about a minute. Go ahead, Dina. Do your thing.
So this is taking place on March the 18th at 7 p.m. at Turtle Music School. It's free. It's open to public. And we are making a program which named Piano Cantabile, piano pieces and songs by various composers. And we will be looking forward to see you there. Now, you have to reserve, though, as soon as possible to make sure you can be there. On the phone number 212-753-8811. It's part of the free concert series sponsored by the wonderful Turtle Bay Music School, where I'm on the faculty. And I'm hoping to see you there.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And we'll be seeing you guys in the future. And Dina will be seeing you on her show in the future. And when Harold or Paula put this on YouTube, they'll play every precious minute of that, even the stuff that went overtime. Yeah, that's,
we didn't went overtime.
Yeah, because both Paula and Harold can go overtime. They were smart enough to go into YouTube when it was new, you know, before it became so famous, before Charlie Sheen was on it, you know. And by the way, talking about Charlie Sheen, Dina and I are going to Charlie Sheen's party later this week. No, I don't think so. I don't think so.